you. If anybody's going down that area, we think.
Oh, of course. And I felt so bad that I couldn't make that last show. But as it turned out, you know, I was worried about my car. It's a good thing I didn't go. The next day, it wound up literally stopping dead, and
Oh my!
Actually, I had been in an accident, a very minor accident, and it ruined the something under the hood that I couldn't tell because the front.
No, you wouldn't know.
Open. Well, no, you couldn't get the hood open. That was the damage, but we didn't know if there was just body damage or anyway. It died.
Well, thank God you stayed put. We really were upset. It was like, no, she's got me here.
Yeah, no, seriously. I would have been
okay.
in the.
Excuse me for interrupting.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Just want to make sure everyone sees on their screen. Right now, you just see a plain field with a microphone and a podium.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when we're ready to begin, I'll make an announcement for you to mute your devices.
Okay, thank you.
Mute.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Barb, can we see anybody else on here?
Not yet. No one else is on yet.
Okay.
They're all standing by their cars. Can you see?
Oh, they are. Oh my gosh.
Oh, there's a lot of people. I wanted to go, but then
we heard it was only there's
10 people.
Yeah.
There's around a dozen.
Okay.
That's it. The rest are the rabbi and my staff. There's Doug talking to the rabbi. There's Laurel over there.
Oh, there she is. Okay. Very tiny.
And there's Bonnie directly in front of us in the black dress, facing you.
We need to
see her?
I don't see Bonnie facing us.
There she is, right there.
The car?
Yes, besides.
I just saw her move. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Put on your speaker view.
Oh, speaker view. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, so that was a quick tour.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for doing this.
No problem.
You know what? If we moved someplace else, we wouldn't be so dark.
Probably want to mute now.
I'll let you know when. You can continue talking about the car trouble.
The long and short of it is I got a new car out of it. But did you hear the news that I have moved back here permanently?
Permanently? No.
Just a couple of weeks ago.
Does Rachel know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good. I know Rachel wants to see you. If she hasn't already, she wants to see you.
Well, I definitely saw her in June. I was here, or was it April?
I don't know. One day we were out as far as the lawn at Andy's, and Rachel came walking by. So,
oh, good.
So I did see her then.
That's
but I'm just stuck at home, so I don't see anybody.
No, well, we're all sort of isolated, but it's great.
That's right. That's right.
To see you. Seeing your face means a lot.
We have some people not on mute. I know.
Lisa, hi.
Oh, that's Lisa.
Okay, we're going to ask you to go on mute now.
Okay, we go on mute now, guys. Everybody on mute.
And you're going to see the casket lowered. Bonnie, Laura, Doug, if you'll be seated in the front row. We ask that you abide by social distancing unless you're immediate family, and keep your mask on, please. This one right there.
Doug. Good to see you, sweetheart. I walk with the cane because I can hit people. I guess. The problem is I can't get my
All right.
the second one.
No, I gotta move this.
You want that or what? Here, I'll share. I have it. David, hello, darling.
Hello, Richie. Right here next to Rachel. It's hard. Everyone looks like take on.
Dear friends, and I hope you are comfortable if I take off my mask at this distance, and I will sing in a couple of moments. So if you would prefer to back up, or if you want, don't anybody hesitate to move to feel more comfortable where you might be situated. We gather this afternoon to remember and to celebrate the life of one who filled our world with her love, her goodness, her spirit, an outstanding example. In humility and gratitude, we turn to the wisdom of our tradition for comfort, for guidance, and for understanding. Throughout the centuries, whenever our people felt lost, confused, bereaved, adrift, they would sing, Esainai el Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. I lift my eyes to the mountains. From where comes my help? Lenore actually sang these words many, many times, and did so in this rendition. Esainai el Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Esainai el Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri.
Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a going and growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from ignorance to knowledge, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, and strength to weakness, from health to sickness, and sickness back to health, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, pain to compassion, and from grief to understanding, from fear to faith. I'm just watching this beat. From defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made a journey. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life, Lenore Bletcher's life, is a sacred pilgrimage from birth unto her death, unto her eternal life in our hearts. Amen. El HaRachaman, oh sweet God, you have taken a beloved friend. We gather in a world darkened. In our silence there is lamentation. We are sorrowful. May we find the presence today of loving friends. Hear us, O God, be with us, and let us draw tenderness from the companionship that Lenore brought to us along her life's path. And that path continues through memory. I come today on behalf of a grateful congregation. Lenore did mitzvah after mitzvah after mitzvah in the name of being an enosh chesed, a person of kindness, of decency, an exemplary person, who, as Cantor acknowledged, sang the songs of our tradition and ritual, and stitched doll after doll. My dolls, she called them. Something like 1,000 of them. And I'm looking at more of them right now. Each of you, and so many others whose lives were touched by Lenore's kindness, her humility, her goodness, her way of living out Jewish values. We're still here, living exemplars of who she is and what she must now become, a part of our memories. The gifts of her heart and mind, her generosity, the memories we have of her, these remain with us. They do not get buried. And in so sharing, I'm reminded that I met Lenore Bletcher at a sisterhood luncheon almost 10 years ago, and met her again 3 nights later at Shabbat services. She was startled to realize that I knew exactly who she was, as if a new rabbi doesn't memorize the names of the past presidents of the sisterhood. We chatted for a while. She told me about her long-standing record of singing in her choir, about her long interest in our temple flourishing. And then she told me she was ready to go, and would I mind telling the handsome man over there, chatting with the ushers, that she's ready to go now. And there stood Art. I picture them now, holding hands as they did, walking in and out of our temple, and out of at least a dozen restaurants near our temple. Their companionship, their goodness, those gifts do not leave us. Adonai mi agur bo halecha mishkon bahar kodshecha, God who abides in your house. The psalmists say, those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth in their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame on them, who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere God, who give their word, and come what may, do not retract, who would not exploit others, who would never take bribes. Those who live in this way, the way in which Lenore lived her whole life, may they never ever be shaken. Amen.
My dear Doug, Laura, Bonnie, Barbara, John, David, dear grandchildren, dear family. It always seemed to me that there wasn't anything Lenore Bletcher couldn't do or didn't. In her exceedingly organized, methodical, logical, and competent fashion, without fuss or fanfare, without drama or upset, she ran the Fairmont Temple office, and by extension, most of what transpired at our congregation for 25 years. When she was asked to serve as our executive director, she demurred because of her family responsibilities, for which she ran a home with the same care and expertise as she cooked, gardened, decorated, beautified, welcomed, entertained, and celebrated birthdays, holidays, special days, or any day by virtue of her thoughtfulness, planning, sense of occasion, and sense of delight in bringing people together to sing, to play games, to share a home-cooked meal, home-cooked from beginning to end, with no shortcuts for convenience or ease, to maintain close ties and enduring relationships. She painted, modeled clay figurines, crocheted afghans for the world, and shawls, thanks to sister-in-law Iris November, for peace, created remarkable dolls for, as we just heard, now at least 1,000 underprivileged children, and still counting. She read for the blind, fed the hungry, cared for the homeless, visited the sick, and she sang. From when she was 16 years old until she was 90 in our temple choir. She conducted, directed, She conducted, directed, accompanied, performed, and brought joy to countless listeners with the Belvoir Mother Singers, the Treble Singers, as a teacher in our religious school, and in her own words, quote, "Once a week, I played the piano and sang fun songs with a group of Downs children, and they laughed and sang. Laughter helps bring tikkun olam." Lenore Bletcher could do just about anything to which she set her mind. She perceived the need, crafted a plan, rolled up her sleeves, went to work, and most often brought others along with her. She never seemed to tire, to complain, to feel that a project might be too big or too difficult. She did it all with ease and grace, with profound generosity and caring, and with the goal always, as she articulated, when she received the Cleveland Jewish Federation Irene Zaman Award for her years as a consummate volunteer. Bringing happiness. Laughter helps bring tikkun olam. We bring smiles, and that's happiness. Their smiles lit up the room. Happiness. Her recording of Diana received a good review from the sight-impaired students of the Cleveland Sight Center. Happiness. The dolls she made had smiling faces, and, quote, "We hear that the children hug them, and that's happiness, and that's cool." The shawls for peace she crocheted with Iris were blessed and brought to women by missionaries. Happiness is connecting people. She concluded, "What I do with all my good people," and I never mentioned my trio called the McGillis Sisters, is to bring a little happiness, because happiness leads to peace. That was her goal and her mission, to bring a smile, to make someone laugh, to spread some mirth and cheer another's spirit. When Laurel took her to doctor's appointments, the two of them would carry on with each other in such a way that the entire waiting room would be convulsed in laughter and would express their disappointment when she was called into her appointment. When she received the Irene Zaman Award, it tickled her that she was being awarded as an unsung heroine. But I sing, she protested. More than any other question, her children and grandchildren will all attest that she loved to ask and could be counted upon asking, "What do you do for fun?" Every time Bonnie was about to call her, she prepared her answer to the inevitable query, "What do you do for fun?" That was how she chose and framed all of her activities. They were fun. They brought happiness to others. She added peace to the world by bringing a smile to even one unsuspecting face. I imagine that was also the source of her indefatigable energy. Nothing she did was ever a burden. It was always a joy, as she derived inspiration and exhilaration from the myriad people she touched, the projects she was able to generate, the music she felt privileged to share. Even her work seemed anchored to a greater purpose. As the eldest child of Helen and Sid Hollander's two children, she grew up with beloved brother Bernard, known as Buddy, at the Euclid Avenue Temple, where they were both confirmed by Rabbi Brickner and graduated from our high school. Sid was a pharmacist in Cleveland for 63 years at his drugstore at 81st and Wade Park, where he was known as Doc Hollander. Their mother, Helen Rich Hollander, sang with the San Carlo Opera Company and with the Opera Choral Group at Severance Hall. Nori and Buddy grew up very close to each other, but also to their cousins on their mother's side. The bonds of family were strong and loving from their earliest years. It was a theme of both of their lives. When Buddy and Iris and Lenore and Art were young married couples, they lived across the street from each other on Silsby. As Celia, Anita, Lisa, and Rachel arrived, the Hollanders needed a bigger home, which they found in Shaker. The Bletchers, with Doug, Laurel, and Bonnie, moved into a house just around the corner. Buddy served as the cantor of the YPC, as well as president, and was about to become president of our congregation when he passed away tragically at 47 years old. Lenore was a member of the choir of our choir of our sisterhood, of the religious school faculty, for which she received the Libby Braverman Faculty Recognition Award, and was a longtime member and then president of our sisterhood, now the Women of Fairmont Temple. After Buddy's passing, the entire family was honored with the Francis Newman Duber Family of the Year Award in 1978. If I'm not mistaken, Buddy passed away in 1975. I arrived in 1980, and I still remember the congregation reeling from that loss. It is hard to imagine a family more deserving or more integral to the life, health, and vitality of the congregation. Even Lenore and Buddy's father, Sid, whom I vividly remember, was included in the award. I remember when Lenore and Arthur moved from their home on Homewood to the one on Hawthorne in Beechwood so that Sid could live comfortably with them. As an aside, I met Nori before I ever arrived in Cleveland because I was interested in buying the house on Homewood. I almost did, but I didn't make up my mind fast enough. Nori was a crucial presence in my life, especially when I first moved here, because she knew everything, and she was in the main office every day where I could find her. I would go running into her to ask about a different piece of music, every other day. The only problem was she could never tell me if the choir knew a particular piece when I sang the melody line, because she never knew what the melody sounded like. She could only recognize a piece when she looked at the alto line, which she often sang for me right there in the middle of the front office, as she had perfect pitch. It was terribly frustrating. From her earliest years, her joyful spirit was nurtured by her close-knit family, her beloved congregation, her years at Heights High, and then as she pursued her artistry and creativity at the Cleveland Institute of Art and Florisstone Mather College. She may have concluded her formal schooling when she married at 20, but she never concluded her lifelong love of music, art, teaching, sharing, contributing, or bringing laughter and smiles into this world. When the family received the Dougal recognition, she said, "The temple is a storehouse of intellect, warmth, and wit. From there you can go out into the community and use what you have gained." Lenore used what she had gained out in the community over and over again with her dear friend and fellow troublemaker, Jeannie Epstein. As Bertine Epstein Starr's successor as director and conductor of the Belvoir Mother Singers. She held rehearsals in her living room where her beloved dog Goldie sat in one of the chairs and moved her head in time to the music from side to side. If I'm not mistaken, that is the same dog who knew the difference between kosher and treif. She loved having performed 500 programs all around Cleveland, and at 90, to still be conducting the women for performances at nursing homes. For Lenore, age had no meaning. She was eternally youthful and youthfully energetic until the end, when the COVID isolation was so difficult to bear. But even then, under the watchful eyes of her children, and especially Laurel and John's expertise, they engaged extraordinary caregivers for her, who literally renewed her and brought her back to life. Kim Johnson Pesta, Debbie West, and Diana Roldan. These three outstanding women became true family for her, to the extent that Kim snuck her out and took her on an excursion to Euclid Beach. The only problem was that she wouldn't stop broadcasting the news upon their return. Her niece, Anita Hollander, would call every week during these last 6 months, and they would sing together. Nori loved to sing with Anita and Holland, with Paul standing by. She was proud of Celia and Charlie's ongoing contribution to the congregation in so many ways. It was great to have Rachel here in town, even while niece Lisa is further away, as our great nieces and nephews, Emma, with Austin soon to be married, the end of September, Helen, Zach and Caitlin with Madeline, and Eli and Amanda with Isaac. We can only imagine what it would have been like for Nori and Buddy to continue singing together, and to do so at Temple for all these years. Nori spoke proudly of having sung under Erwin Josby, Ruby Kaplan, and how she adored singing with David Whitting, whom she thought was the best of them all. I personally treasure our very special relationship of all these years in so many contexts. She actually submitted her letter of resignation from the choir after she was about 90 years old, but neither David nor I accepted it. She was always engaged in some worthwhile endeavor. She volunteered at the Heights Emergency Food Center, where she helped for 23 years, and was asked to join the board of the Beechwood Arts Council, where she helped to chair many art shows. She was absolutely devoted and truly moved by the doll project. Even she seemed to be impressed by the good that the dolls did, by the happiness they brought into the lives of children who had so little. Every Tuesday, Laura would bring her to Temple to work on them until we had to close the building in March. She was devoted to every facet of our congregation. She also loved to make music, to do creative art projects, to cook her mock chopped liver, her jello mold made better without the fruit, her spatula, her cookies decorated with my children's initials when each of them was born, and never chocolate. She was not a chocoholic. I don't think she even liked chocolate.
She was allergic.
She was allergic. That's what I'd forgotten. Thank you. Thank you. And you remember so much. She could not throw anything out, but always had everything well organized. Music, costumes, materials, calculators, and calendars. She would give away, but not throw away. She was the original recycler, as she saved items from other people's trash and repurposed anything. She loved to be busy, and usually was, with 20 different projects. She hosted all the Jewish holidays, loved to play tennis at one point in her life, and maintained an interest after that. She loved to play cards, charades, games, parlor games. I had the joy of being at a Bletcher party and vividly remember the music charades, which were another version of the astronomy charades. But I don't remember that there was a theme which could have required costumes and props. Nori painted, laid tile floors, and gardened on her hands and knees into her 80s, for which she collected her own zinnia seeds. When her lifelong dearest friend, Helen Olinsky, became ill with pancreatic cancer, Lenore would pick her up every day and take her to Wendy's for the 99-cent special, until Helen could no longer sustain the cherished outings. Lenore loved animals and her big birthday parties. She invited 80 guests for her 80th, 90 for her 90th. With all of her passions and all of her activities, the happiest part of her life, the source of her greatest laughter and greatest joy, was her family, her multifaceted, multi-charactered family. From her grandparents, whose give back to your community DNA became part of Lenore's essential character, to her parents, whom she emulated, admired, and cared for, to her brother and dear Iris and their family, with whom she was and continues to be so close, and with whom they share memories of vacationing as families together, in addition to living across the street. At the center of her life, however, as the source of her greatest joy and happiness, is Art when he was alive, and their beloved children, Doug, Laurel, and Bonnie. Together, she and Art grieved the loss of Nancy, who was born a blue baby and died at 5 months after primitive heart surgery. Nori never forgot the loss, but it did not keep her from rejoicing in her 3 wonderful children. She was exceedingly proud of each of them. She loved that Doug had been president of the local chapter of Jewish Big Brothers, and as such had made a difference in more than one young man's life. Even now, I can hear the pride in her voice as she spoke about her children. I know how important was Laurel's watchful medical eye for both of her parents, but as a natural advocate, she addressed so much that was wrong in the COVID approach to the very elderly. I know you were all a remarkable team for your mother, but our gratitude goes out to Laurel for the exceptional care she provided on behalf of you all, and to John for being the true ministering angel of her final days as her hospice nurse. And her clone, Bonnie. You were so wonderfully attentive and loving to her. You would take her out or bring her lunch every week. She was so proud of you, of your musical talent when you were the whiz kid working in the religious school office in high school, and when you became an accomplished professional in your field. She loved to make music with any or all of you, although Doug admitted to preferring baseball over the piano, but most of all, she loved to laugh with you and see you smile, especially when Barbara came into Doug's life, when John married Laurel, and when Bonnie found her David. Lenore knew very well how fortunate she was in the arrival of her grandchildren, Sam Hopwood, Heather Krause, who will be marrying Michael Ward this weekend, in a confluence of circumstances already made difficult by this pandemic, and grandson Joe Krause with his Katie Zywicka. You filled her heart with love and laughter as she asked you over and over again, what do you do for fun? He was already a junior at Case when he was invited to the Cleveland Heights High School prom. He noticed a beautiful young lady dancing with a fraternity brother of his. A few days later, when he commented to the fraternity brother that he had a good-looking girlfriend, Howard Weiss replied, "That was my cousin, Lenore Hollander." It didn't take long for Art Bletcher to make a phone call and a date. And soon, Nori was the love of his life. It seems that Art was smitten. It was love at first sight for him, while Nori was content to play the field during his years of war service, until he returned home, and on August 14th, 1946, they began their 66-year journey together. They were ideally suited for each other. They both loved to laugh and to make others laugh. None of us will ever forget Art's infinite store of wacky jokes, the games he invented, the fun they had together, or their shared devotion to all things cultural, educational, social, and spiritual. They had a wide and deep circle of friends, many of whom came from the monthly Sunday evening study group that continued to meet for 40 years, 50 years, 35 years, I don't remember, but it was many years. Art was entirely supportive of Lenore's activities as she was of his, and their shared dedication to family, friends, and faith. And when he lost his sight, we watched in awe and admiration his courage, her devotion, and their joint determination to live fully and energetically, buoyed by laughter every minute of every day. She carried on bravely and positively in the aftermath of his loss, but we began to notice some very few indications that even Nori was not immune to the effects of longevity. And the arrival of a global pandemic was very hard to bear. It is hard to imagine this world without her presence. She seemed to bring only blessings and uplift to all of us. Her passions are enduring, her handiwork displayed, her smile infectious. We see her face in our mind's eye, and we want to laugh, to sing, to sew with her. Her life's goal was as profound as it was simple. Happiness leads to peace. There is a song my singers perform, which was written by young people. It's called "Let There Be Peace on Earth, and Let It Begin with Me. I'm trying." Zichronah livracha. May her memory rest playfully and peacefully upon each of us. And we say, Amen. Oh God, you give us loved ones and make them the strength of our life, the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way. But you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow laden for consolation. Oh God, we see life as two windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures, as you, oh God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They leave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and glory. I invite you to rise if you are able for our memorial prayer. El Malay Rachamim.
El Malay Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, אמצעי מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, אם קדושים הדברים, כזורתיה מזהירים את נשמת לאה מירה, בת שמואל וחנה, שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתירה בשאת הכנב לעולמים, ויצרו החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Lenore Bletcher, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. It is only the house of the spirit which we now lay within the earth. The spirit itself cannot die. Receive in mercy, O God, the soul of our departed, Lenore Bletcher. Grant her that everlasting peace which you have prepared for us in the world to come. Though no human eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor mind has grasped it, still it is our sure inheritance and our everlasting portion. O God, help us to understand that grief and love go hand in hand, that the pain which loss inflicts is the measure of a love stronger than death. Though we cry in the anguish of our hearts, may we be like children who know that their parent is near and who cling unafraid to the trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is precious to us to your keeping, as we repeat now the words hallowed by generations of our people in the Kaddish praise. Yitkadah, v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach hilutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon of yomechon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav b'zman karim v'imru. Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam v'lamei amaya, v'yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal, shemei d'kudishah v'yichud, v'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, damiran v'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shalama Rabbah min shmaya v'chayim, aleinu v'alcho Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom v'mama, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'alcho Yisrael v'imru. Amen. It is part of the tradition of our people to actually help to bury our departed with our very own hands. The limitations of this time in our world will allow us to pour a little bit of this dirt upon the graveside for those for whom it would have meaning. I invite you to do so at this time.
No, I'm good with 7 you finished it. Thank you.
anyone else wishes, they may do so. If not, this concludes our service. Thank you.
One more thing, I'm sorry. We conclude officially, I didn't mean to interrupt, Bert, I'm sorry, with these words from our tradition. Lech Yishilacha Chadinah, where your way for God has called you. Lech Adonai Yet Yimach, go your way and may God be with you. Tahalach Lefanecha Tzidkecha, Kavod Adonai Yachnecha. May righteousness go before you and the glory of God receive you. And we say to the family, Amakom Yenachem Atem B'Tov Sha'ar B'Leit Zion B'Yerushalayim. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem.
Now this concludes our service. We ask friends to return to their cars. This concludes also our Zoom broadcast. Thank you.